I'm Joe Day, and I'm at Saturday's Farmers Market here in Santa Fe. Most of us have read or seen or heard the news about the drought in the middle of our country, the worst in at least 50 years. Corn is the hardest hit crop, it seems, and will result in higher food prices. A federal government map of drought in New Mexico shows extreme conditions in the eastern and southeastern and far northwestern parts of the state. Drought in this area is labeled moderate to severe. I was curious about how our drought is affecting farmers and ranchers in this area.
First of all, what is your name?
My name is Donna Lockridge, and I am the co-owner of South Mountain Dairy.
And what do you sell?
We're a goat dairy. We sell whole milk, bottled yogurt, and 8 or 9 different varieties of cheeses.
How has the drought, the dryness affected you?
Because we don't have pasture land and the type of product we're doing, we wouldn't want the goats to pasture on scrub oak and stuff. It affects the flavor of the milk. We have to buy hay. The biggest issue that we have faced this year is the cost of hay. It has doubled. Last year, what we paid was probably about $4,200. This year, the same semi-load of hay costs us $8,400. So for us, it's the cost of hay, the lack of appropriate forage. Grain has gone through the roof because we have to give the girls grain. Last year it was the floods that they had in the Midwest. This year it's the drought. The corn, you've seen pictures on it in the news, it's stunted. So the price of grain is up close to $12, $13 for a 50-pound sack, which we used to be able to get 4 years ago for $7.
First of all, sir, what is your name?
Alan Lackey.
And you're a beef rancher.
Organic grass-fed beef, yes, sir.
Where are you located?
I'm at Riviera, New Mexico. It's 40 miles east of Santa Fe.
How has the dryness affected you, the drought?
Well, my business is a grass-based business, and if you can't grow grass, you really don't do business. So it's been a struggle, extremely dry. I've had just a little over an inch for the year so far, and I was about the same last year. So it's critical.
So what do you do, Mr. Lackey, about your ranch?
I have to operate on irrigated land, and I'm in the process of trying to lease with an option to buy irrigated land with reliable water so that I'm not totally at the whim of Mother Nature. So that's what I'm working towards now. So.
But that's going to increase your cost and ultimately impact your income, isn't that right?
It is expensive, yes, to pump water, but there's no alternative really when it doesn't rain.
Mr. Lackey, have you had to sell off any of your beef?
I have. I had to liquidate my cows and
entirely. Or?
Yes, just because I was in a transition from one place to another, and there wasn't any grass to go to. There's no grass available. It'll be a good thing overall if I can, if all my plans come to fruition. So.
That's the kind of optimism you often hear from ranchers and farmers who are subject to the whims of nature.
Well, it keeps you humble, but it doesn't do any good to be any other way, I don't think. So,
Jim Whitaker.
You are a rancher. You raise beef.
Right. Raise cattle, raise pigs.
What has the effect of the drought been on you?
Well, we've been, I think, one of the lucky areas both last year and this year in that we've had rain where some others haven't.
What do you hear from people who are in the same business that you are in?
Mostly that there's no grass, and like last year, there's going to be an element of herd elimination.
Herd elimination, you mean, in other words, you sell off the animals?
Selling out, yeah. And
that affects your whole business, your income and the prices and everything else, right? It's a ripple effect.
It does.
You're Teresa Lopez from Chimayo. How has the drought affected you and your farm?
Well, it's affected us primarily because our produce doesn't want to give. It's been too hot. It's barely coming out now. The plants are there and the flowers are blooming, but mostly the heat. I mean, we irrigate it, and by the next day it's dry, just like if you hadn't even irrigated or nothing.
You've been doing this all your life. You say you're 57. Do you ever get used to nature and what nature does?
Oh, heck no. We can't do that. If we get used to it, then we get too comfortable. And besides, it's not our will that works here. It's the Lord.
My name is Phil Loomis, and my farm is in Jacona, New Mexico, in the Poake Valley, and I've been farming for 20 years now. This year, I don't know. It's been hotter and it's been drier, and it's just it's a pretty bad year. It might be one of the worst I've seen. But
Specifically, what does it mean for your crops? Does it mean that you have fewer crops, or that your produce is not the same quality? Both.
well, I think the quality. Most times the quality is still pretty good. It's just the quantity is really decreased. You know, it's
And so that affects your income.
right. Yeah, definitely.
In the long run, what do you think this will mean for prices of food?
The prices of food are going to have to go up. The only way that the farmers can survive is to pass the money on to the consumers. For small farmers, that's extremely critical. Now, we can hear about ConAgra and some of the large agricultural stuff. They will say that it's causing them to raise their prices, but they can bear the burden of the cost a whole lot more than the small farmer can. And the small farmer, particularly in this venue, is trying to bring really healthy local produce, local fruits, local meat, local cheese, local milk, so that you know how that animal's been treated, you know how that fruit's been grown, you know the love that goes into that. It's going to wipe out the small farmers. ConAgra, Dean Foods, they will survive, but at what cost to people looking for locally grown food?
Of course, hope for rain springs eternal, but for some who make their living off the land, if it does come, it may be too late. At the Santa Fe Farmers Market for KSFR News, I'm Joe Day, around and about Santa Fe.